This is Anouk. She's a contemporary dancer, and she is not dancing to this music, she is in fact composing it. She is creating this music with her dance. To better explain what's going on here, I have to first introduce you to this wearable MIDI device that she's got on her wrist. Hey everyone, I'm Oscar from Underdog, and today we're going to talk about this little device right here. This is the theremin by Instrument of Things. This is a wearable MIDI controller. So it's got a little disc, and that disc controls any parameter inside of your DAW. I turn it to the left, and I turn it to the right. I turn it to the left, and I turn it to the right. Left, right, left, right. That works. Nice. And then this thing goes in one of these little hand things. Hop. And you can now attach this to your wrist. It hooks up to your computer using this little device. And with a little bit of finessing, you can pretty much map this to any parameter that you want. And then you can control that parameter by basically flailing your wrists around, or doing small movements, or doing sudden movements, things like this. So I want to show you what I did with this, but first I want to put the question back to you. And the question is, if you were in charge of making the Ableton file that a dancer was going to use to perform, what are the big ideas, the concepts, the philosophical, the conceptual frameworks that you're going to apply to make that happen? Let me show you my thought process. Step one is just trying it out. Program something and give it to the people around you and see how they react.
I'm starting with my motorcycle. That's good.
Whatever.
Check out my ring.
My body is an instrument.
So as you can see, the first results are that when you give this to someone, the playfulness, the exploration of the sound is somehow integrally part of the experience. As my sister says it so well, my body is an instrument now. So I went deep down some sound design rabbit holes. And so here you can see me exploring the sound design, the sound sculpting, mapping the movements to various parameters. In order to see what this thing can do in the context of music composition, or in the space where music composition and dance meet, I decided to speak to Anouk. She's a contemporary dancer, and so I asked her for her first impressions and whether she was interested in maybe co-creating something together.
But then I think you're gonna have to guide me into what kind of sound you want. Because maybe I'll be doing some movements which doesn't sound good. Because I don't have that same, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that I'd love to find a setting of the system that would just give you something fun to dance to. You're not a musical composer.
You know where you go. And then you release kind of thing. Could always be like.
Yes!
You know, like,
this is exactly it.
Yeah. I find this so cool. Oh, that was cool. And then you could go into like, oh, you're filming. I didn't even realize.
So the idea of scene 2 with the drone is that up here, there's nothing. And then, okay, you got this tribal beat. And then back up here, there's nothing. So you can have silence, and then you bring it down, and suddenly there's tribal beats. So that you can move to that, but then decide when you stop it. Idea.
Okay, now I get it. middle way?
It was like super low. And then you kind of like bring it up a bit and it gets lower.
It should be stopping now, shouldn't it?
Why are the drums still playing? Let me see your hands. Oh, that changed something, no?
And as you can see in this clip, as my sister was bringing up her arm, we expected the drums to stop. That was how I thought I had programmed them. And that brings us to the two main challenges or downsides or limitations of such a device. The first limitation I would say is the slight bugginess or the difficulty in troubleshooting this kind of thing. You can imagine with this kind of bloop, 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 bloop sound, and you're trying to see what it does when you move your arm like this. After a couple of hours of moving your arm like this, you're really going crazy. Like the sound isn't responding how you want. Your physical body is getting exhausted. So there's this weird behavior where despite me not moving the controller at all, it's kind of moving all over the place. It's kind of annoying. There's a huge learning curve and it's not always clear if the device really responds how you would expect it to respond. That would make me slightly nervous using this in a very high stakes kind of a production. And the second limitation of it is what I'm going to call intention mismapping. So think of it like this. The dancer wants to express a certain emotion. They could do something gentle or they could do something abrupt. And if you plan to map the music to that, you want that movement, the quality of that movement to translate to a certain quality in the sound. And when that fails, the dancer suddenly gets pulled out of their flow zone where they are expressing a certain quality and they start thinking about the interface and they start thinking, oh yeah, okay, maybe I should angle it more like this. Maybe I should try it several times. And so basically then the tool is getting in the way.
But it's almost kind of like frustrating because it's like, it's difficult to like, yeah.
Ideally, you'd want to be establishing a connection between the dancer's mind and their intention and the musical expression and the quality of the music, like a direct link. And this is the translation device between those two. And so sometimes the translation isn't one-to-one. And part of that is technical, but a part of that is also just learning the tools and doing a lot of research about what kind of movements work and what kind don't. So there's a real learning curve to this to try and figure out which kind of movements work well for the music and for the dancer. And that brings us back to that question from the beginning of how would you program something for a dancer to dance to? Well, my idea was that I wanted to create a sandbox within which the dancer could explore all the different areas and the dancer could map a quality of their emotion onto the quality of the music. So if they wanted restfulness where nothing is happening, they could be restful. If they wanted intensity, they could get intensity. And ideally you want to turn the music into just another part of the dancer's body, so to speak. So the dancer has all these tools available to them, all these kind of movement tools, all these expressive tools. And ideally you would want the music to be one of those tools where the dancer can just say, now the music does this. Now the music does this. It's not super easy to set that up in a way that automatically leads to a musically nice result because you don't want to give the dancer the feeling that they're responsible for being a musical performer. You don't want to give them the feeling that they're responsible for performing your song. And certainly we're not trying to create a choreography here, like a series of hoops for the dancer to jump through or else it fails. That's definitely not what we want to do. At least that's not what I want to do. So here's an example of turning the instrument into an extension of the dancer's vocabulary. Yo, Tess, I feel like this was what you were suggesting the other day and I couldn't figure out how to make it work. But now it works. Turns your arm into like a theremin. Now, despite the challenges that I mentioned, when the dancer's intentions and the sound designer's intentions come together and meet to create something special, real magic can happen and real goosebump moments can happen. And so if you'll permit me, I'd like to show you what the end result was of the performance collaboration between Anouk and myself. We went to a dance studio, we recorded a lot of footage, and neither of us has ever done anything quite like this before, but I'm quite happy with the result. Here's the result of our collaboration, and leave a comment below if you get something out of it.